There's a horrific flooding disaster happening right now in Texas where at least 70 are dead, a bunch of children are missing, and a lot of lives were lost. But masculinity and men of God are stepping up in a huge way. Let's get into it. What is going on, bro? Welcome to the Man of God pod. My name is Camden, and I'm here to inspire you to become a man of God. And this disaster, this flood that's happening in Texas right now is actually showing how important men of God are, what it means to be a man, and the masculinity it takes to step up in moments of adversity like this. So we're going to dive into that, how men are actually making an impact here. And I'm going to show you guys a few examples of things going on. And we're just going to dive into what it means to be a man of God in situations like this, because nothing, and I'm going to make this very clear, nothing can replace a masculine man in situations like this. I'm sorry. Like, a woman cannot recreate what a man was designed to do in situations like this, because God, in the beginning, designed us in a way. We were created innately differently, and God designed men in a way to be able to protect and provide for people like this. And so let's dive in. Let's get straight into one of these videos to show you guys what's going on. So here's a woman that's stuck in the water during this flood, and it takes a bunch of men to pull this rope to save this girl. I mean, look at the strength and the sacrifice that these men were willing to make to save and rescue a woman. Like, it takes strength, and strength is biology. You know, we were made differently, like, for reasons like this. I believe God made us to be able to protect and secure people and make sure they're okay, just like this example. I mean, look at these people, the sacrifice it's taking these men, the strength and the bravery, the courage it's taking them to do something like this. I mean, it's beautiful to watch. So that's just one example of what's going on, and I think that God called us to do this. You know, he said, be strong and courageous in Joshua 1:9. And I think that's what it means to be a man. You have to be filled with courage and bravery in times of disaster, because this is not against women, but women are more emotional, and they tend to be more emotional in situations like this, where men tend to be a little bit more logical and, you know, what's the next best step to take? How can we make this as good as we can to, you know, save people and help people get out of the situations they're in? And if we're not leaning into that and being strong, masculine men, then we're missing who God created us to be. Like, look at this guy, the U.S. law enforcement here on the ground. It takes a lot to go out here and do this, finding people that are dead, saving people from the disaster. But men were called for such a time as this and for things like this, okay? And the Bible will back me up on this, that even in the beginning, when God created Adam, he put him in the garden to tend to the garden and tend to Eve. Eve was there too as a helper to Adam, but Adam was there to tend to the garden, to make sure everything's okay, and to protect Eve. Just like today, we are meant for the same exact things today. We're meant to protect our families, protect other people, children and women, from danger. Because that's why we were made stronger. That's why we were made with different brain chemicals and different things like testosterone. You know, it's prevalent in men for a reason. And we got to lean into this kind of identity, this kind of thing. I call it fearless masculinity, because what people will say now is that this Texas flooding, these people out there, that's toxic masculinity, right? Toxic masculinity. Well, I'm going to redefine that. We got to call it fearless. This is fearless. So when you try to take men out of their God-given roles and say that they're toxic for, you know, wanting to be, you know, dominant and masculine, well, guess what? That's the very thing that saves people like this in floods. That's the very thing that we need for a functioning society to protect the vulnerable. Because what happens when you take away the men? It leaves the women, the vulnerable children who cannot really protect themselves like this. I mean, that example, the video I showed you, literally shows us how important it is. And I have another one I'm going to show you right now. Look at this. Here's a second video. Same kind of situation. There's a woman that's dangling from a tree, and then these big men go in there. And I'm sorry, but I don't think a woman could do the same exact thing and have the same exact impact in situations like this. This guy, this strong guy, wraps this girl around with a life jacket and she's like, barely hanging on, and it's taken more than one. The other guy is in there too, and there's a bunch of backups and people that are ready to jump in to save people like this. So just watch what's going on. I mean, it's a scary sight to see something like this, but look at that strength it takes to rip away from the current and carry this woman. I mean, this is what we're made for. It's amazing. I see things like this and I think, wow, masculinity is not too far gone. We haven't gotten too weak and feminine like the world wants us to be. There's still strong, brave men like this. And I'm going to actually bring up what Jesus tells us and what the Bible talks about is in perfect relation to this kind of stuff. Here we go. Ephesians 5, verse 25. We're going to highlight this real quick. So it says, husbands, love your wives just as Christ loved the church. Now, what does that mean? Well, it actually says in the next part, and gave himself up for her. What did Jesus do? He gave his life for us, right? He literally sacrificed his life. He's the ultimate sacrifice. He gave his life for us on that cross. I think God calls men to do the same thing for their wives and for their families. I mean, Jesus says explicitly, he says that there is no greater love than to lay your life down for a friend. And that's exactly what masculinity is all about. You might have heard that masculinity is about, being a masculine man means getting as many girls as you can and being dominant and stuff like that. It's kind of perverted out of how it's designed to be. It's actually about protecting, providing, and leading. In crises, in a crisis like the flood right now, it takes men who are going to step up and lead the way. And I'm not saying that you can't be a first responder as a woman. I think the roles are a little bit different than the men who have to, literally get brute in strength, get down in the water, pick these women up and rescue them from the floods. It's going to take men to lead the way, to lead the charge, to take charge and be a leader in situations like this. It's as simple as that. God designed it like this. And I'm not saying women are any lower or, not as good as men, because look, we are made differently with different things, and we're not created equal. Women are better at different things. What about the nurse that those people get delivered to see? Who's better at nurturing and caring for people? I think women. And that doesn't mean a man can't be a nurse. A woman can't be a first responder. I'm not saying that. I'm saying when we lean into the actual roles that God designed, everything clicks so much better. We need men to stand up and save women, save children. Look at firefighters. Look at military. Look at these strong men who are making a comeback. One, because in the recent, America in the last 6 months, we've had a change in the way our government is ran. And now we have people that are embracing men, embracing masculinity instead of saying that you are toxic and saying that you can be however you feel and stuff like that. No, God designed us to be strong, to take care, protect, provide, and lead our families and lead our communities. I'm going to be like in the minority for saying stuff like that nowadays. Like now that's kind of like crazy to say, but no, we're not going to adjust to the culture. We're going to have the culture adjust to us because we follow the word of God, and that's living and it's forever. It never changes. It's constant, just like God. So when he tells me that a man should be strong and courageous and lay his life down and love our wives as Christ loved the church, and give ourselves up for them, I'm going to embrace that. I'm going to embrace that fearless masculinity, the kind that God made us to be. And so I don't know how about you. I don't know how you feel about that, but we need to be the generation of men that start to stand up for this kind of masculinity and not be afraid of the things people are saying about it. Not be afraid that, someone's going to be mad at you for not adjusting to their feelings. Oh, well, who cares how they feel? Facts don't care about your feelings. Yes, culture is going to tell you that it's okay to be weak and it's okay to, and I'm not saying you can't cry as a man. That shows emotion, that shows you care, that shows heart. But we can't be led by our emotions and say, I feel like this today, so I'm going to do this instead. No, that's not how God designed it. He is firm in what he says. And he tells us, I think it says in one of the verses that the glory of a young man is his strength. I'm thinking that's word for word. I'll bring it up right now. Yep, here we go. Proverbs 20. The glory of a young man is their strength. So men are glorious when they're strong. We should not be getting away from that. I think the gym is the best place for a young man to be, mentally and physically. That's where you get, strong and sharp in the brain and the body. And it actually helped my discipline to get more spiritually in touch. The habits translate to other parts of our lives. And if we're weak, and not every man is like going to be 6'5" and 250 pounds. Like, I'm not. But that doesn't mean I'm weak. Weak is not just physical. It's actually a mindset, because when men adjust to this mindset that, they're going to let just people say how they feel and let them do whatever they want. Well, how are you going to protect your children in a generation that talks like that? Or, for example, when people are saying, oh, women should be in charge of all these things. I don't agree with that. I'm sorry, but in the military, when push comes to shove, men are stronger physically, and biology says that. God designed it like that, and no one's gonna be able to recreate a role better than God did. And so I felt so strongly about this that I actually wrote a book this year. It released a few months ago called Fearless Masculinity. And it's all about embracing the man that God created you to be. It's my journey as a man, as a Christian in this world that calls us toxic. And it's the perfect time. If you're interested in this kind of thing and this video, if you clicked on this video and like what I'm talking about, it's a perfect time to read this book, because we need to be spiritually equipped to handle tasks under pressure, to handle the changing world and make a difference as Christian, godly men, as men of God, like this channel's about. So if you're interested, I'm going to link it in the description to buy this book right now. It's out now. It'll be shipped directly to you. So that is what I did this year. And I'm so passionate that we're going to keep going on this journey here and make men masculine again, because God knows better than we do. If you look at generations before, look at 50 years ago, look at pictures from a few decades ago, and you'll see men, wearing suits and being strong. And now men are wearing dresses and, just doing how it's hard to describe, but being feminine. They look more like women, and women look more like men today. So the identity is being twisted, but we got to capture it and take what the enemy is trying to steal and bring it back and embrace our God-given identities of being strong, masculine men that lead our families, protect them, and provide for them. So if you want to join me on that journey, click that subscribe button. We're going to be back again with more videos like this one. If you have a topic or a video you want me to watch on this channel, feel free to comment about it, and I'll take a look and try to make a video in the future. But thanks for watching this one. Click that subscribe button, like the video. Let's become men of God together. See you guys. Peace.